The rehab gym at Brookhaven Military Medical Center was nearly silent at 6 in the morning. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The wide windows showed only a faint gray wash of dawn above the parking lot. The room smelled of disinfectant and rubber, the familiar hospital mix that never fully faded. Grace Hall pushed a rolling cart down the center aisle between the parallel bars. Her sneakers whispered on the smooth floor. She moved with the practiced pace of someone who knew every piece of equipment by touch. At the first set of bars, she wrapped her hands around the rails and shook. The frame stayed solid. She lowered the height, one notch checked the gap, then nudged a therapy stool a little closer to the end. A mat that had drifted crooked got a sharp kick back into line. In the far corner, a row of prosthetic legs hung from a steel rack. Everyday foot shells, carbon fiber blades, bright metal knees, all lined up like tools on a wall. The light caught them in hard flashes. From across the room, they might have passed for sports gear. Standing in front of them, they looked like something else entirely. Grace stopped and let her fingers rest on a black running blade. The carbon was cool and smooth. For a heartbeat, she pictured it attached to a body, imagined the awkward first step, the careful second one, the long work of teaching your brain that this was now part of you. Her mouth tightened. She took her hand away and rolled the cart on. At the cabinets by the windows, she unlocked a door and pulled out resistance bands, foam blocks, a couple of worn basketballs. She stacked them on the cart, sorted by color and size. She tested each band with a quick stretch, tossed one that felt thin, folded a sagging towel into a clean square. If the room was in order, if everything sat where it belonged, then the day at least started on ground, she understood. Her phone buzzed once in the pocket of her navy scrubs. She let it go and walked to the mirrored wall. The glass showed her the whole gym and herself in it, a small figure in the middle of empty floor. Dark hair pulled back, shoulders straight, eyes a little hollow from too many early shifts. At the edge of her neckline, a thin white line of scar flashed when she moved. Another pale ridge showed along her left forearm when her sleeve rode up. Most people never noticed. They saw scrubs and a badge. They did not see the history tucked underneath. She carried a stack of towels to a low table, set them down, then slipped her hand into her right pocket. Her fingers found a coin. It was heavy and smooth at the edges from being turned over many times. One side held an eagle and an old unit crest. The other bore a motto she still knew by heart. Grace pressed the challenge coin into her palm. The metal dug gently into her skin. For an instant, the gym fell away and another scene rose up. Heat beating through armor plates, dust hanging in the air, the hard thump of rotors somewhere ahead, a sharp crack that turned the world white and brown and ringing. Her breath hitched. She opened her hand and let the coin lie flat on her skin. The mirrors slid back into focus. Bars, mats, the faint hum of lights, and a distant monitor beeping down the hall. The phone buzzed again, longer this time. She pulled it out and checked the screen. Harper S. She answered. Hall. Morning, Grace. You in the gym already? Dr. Samuel Harper sounded rough and awake, exactly like he always did at this hour. Yes, sir, she said. Just finishing setup. Good. I need to brief you on a new arrival. Grace walked toward the windows as he spoke. Outside, the sky was lightening, a thin stripe of color behind the hospital roofs. Cars sat in neat rows, windshields dull in the pale light. All right, she said. Who is it? There was a rustle of paper on his end. Staff Sergeant Cole Maddox. Harper read. Explosive ordnance disposal, age 30, left leg amputated above the knee after an IED strike in Helmand. Multiple shrapnel injuries, mild traumatic brain injury. He was stabilized in Germany and is en route to us now. From a medical standpoint, he is about where we would expect. Grace did not need more detail. She could see the probable scar lines, the muscle loss, the way his weight would shift when he tried to stand. And from a human standpoint, she asked. Harper was quiet for a breath. He refused rehab at Landstuhl, he said. Refused again in Germany, would not get out of bed, would not let anyone work with the stump. There is an incident report about him throwing a walker across the room. Nursing notes call him angry and hostile. Grace watched a maintenance cart move slowly across the parking lot below a single figure, pushing it past the row of cars. And he is coming here, she said. Plane lands at Lackland in less than an hour. Transfer team brings him straight to Brookhaven. I am assigning him to you as primary therapist from the moment he rolls through your doors. Her free hand curled around the back of a nearby chair. The wood was solid under her fingers. You are sure that is wise, sir. You have the best record with patients who do not want treatment, Harper said. You get movement where others get nothing. Whatever you are doing, I want you to do it for him. Grace looked at her faint reflection in the window. The woman there looked like any other clinician at the start of a shift. No one would guess she had once been admitted to the same floor on a stretcher. I will be here, she said. Good, Harper replied. They will page you when he arrives. The line clicked off. Grace slid the phone back into her pocket and closed her fingers around the coin in her other hand. It had warmed against her skin. She turned it once, then set it deeper in her pocket until she could no longer feel the edges. The gym was ready, parallel bars straight, mats stacked, a chair waiting at the end of the lane for whoever needed it. Grace stood in the center of the room and listened to the hum of the lights and the muted sounds of the waking hospital. The day had begun. The transport team brought him in just after 8. Grace heard the doors at the end of the corridor slide open and stepped out of the gym. A gurney turned the corner, pushed by one medic, guided by another, with a hand on a portable monitor. Staff Sergeant Cole Maddox lay strapped at the hips and chest, one hand resting on the blanket. His eyes tracked the ceiling tiles instead of the hallway. His hair was overgrown, his jaw dark with stubble, a pale scar cutting his left eyebrow. The blanket reached mid-thigh. On the right side, it rose over a knee. On the left, it dropped flat. The monitor at his shoulder beeped in a steady rhythm. "This is Maddox," the medic said. "Staff Sergeant EOD straight from Landstuhl. Vitals good, pain managed." He nodded toward her. "Sergeant, this is physical therapy, Ms. Hall." Cole did not look over. His fingers curled once in the blanket. "Thank you," Grace said. They rolled him into the rehab gym. The wheels bumped over the metal strip at the threshold. Inside, parallel bars ran down the center of the room. Mats and balls sat in ordered stacks. Prosthetic legs hung in rows along the back wall. His gaze flicked to the rack of limbs for a brief second, then away. The medics moved him from gurney to wheelchair with practiced hands. He helped when asked, bracing with his good leg, gripping the rails on command. When his stump twisted and pain hit, he went very still and shut his eyes until his breathing steadied. They finished and stepped out the back. "You are in good hands, Sergeant," one said. Cole opened his eyes long enough to find the exit sign. The door whispered shut behind them. The gym fell quiet again. Grace pulled a chair over and sat in front of him slightly off to the side. "Staff Sergeant Maddox," she said. "I am Grace Hall. I am your primary physical therapist here." At last his eyes came to her face. Hazel ringed with fatigue, hard to read. "Do I get a vote in that?" he asked. "Or is this one of those done deals, Mom?" "It is already assigned," she said. "Then lucky us. For today we keep it basic, she said. "No standing, no bars. I need an assessment. Pain, sleep, how sitting feels." "You read the file," he said. "I did." "Then you know." "I know what it said a few days ago," she said. "I do not know how you are now." He looked at her a moment as if testing for something. Then he let his head rest against the chair. "Fine, ask." "Pain right now. Constant. Where worst?" "Stump and the part that is gone. That one is noisy." "Sleep. Bad. Pills knock me out, then wear off. Then it is just me and the ceiling. Dizzy with movement. When they sit me up, when someone moves me fast, when people discuss my future like I am not there." The edge in his voice sharpened on that last line. Grace noted it and set the clipboard aside. She checked his right leg, shoulders, hands. Joints moved well enough. Muscles already softer from bed rest, but still strong. He let her work without comment. When she touched the blanket on his left side, he tensed. "Do we need to do that today?" he said. "I need to see the incision," she answered. "If there's a problem, we change the plan. If we miss it, you lose time." He looked past her to the windows. Outside, the parking lot filled as the morning came up. "I'm not going anywhere fast," he said. She waited. "May I look?" He held his breath, then pushed the blanket back in a short, annoyed motion. The stump rested on a towel wrapped in white gauze. Bruising pooled around it. The swelling looked controlled. The line of the surgery under the bandage was clean. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic. For an instant, she saw a different leg, her own wrapped and swollen, on another bed. Her stomach tightened at the echo. "It looks like it is healing well," she said. "We watch the pain and adjust if we need to." "It feels like fire," he said. "Nerves send a lot of noise at first," she said. "They are trying to make sense of what happened." "Noise," he said, tired. "Sure." He pulled the blanket back into place. "I am done," he said. "I would like to see one transfer from chair to mat," she said, slow with a spot. "I am good right here." "Some band work, then. Upper body. It will help." "I used to haul suits and tools through sand," he said. "I do not need colored rubber bands." "Rehab is not about that kind of strength," she said. "Whatever it is, I'm not interested." He glanced around the gym. "I used to walk into rooms wired to kill people," he said. "That was the job. This is not." "No," she said. "It is not." He looked at her, waiting for a line that would change his mind. She did not offer one. "It is my job to be ready when you are," she said. "Today I will document that you decline transfers and exercise. You do that." His fingers tapped once on the wheel, a sharp, hollow sound. "You are on the schedule this afternoon," she said. "You are persistent." "Yes." He turned his head toward the window. Conversation over. She signaled the orderly. The chair rolled out. The tires bumped the threshold strip and the sound faded down the hall. The gym felt bigger with him gone. Sunlight stretched in bands across the floor. The hum of the lights sounded louder. Grace stood for a breath, then picked up the clipboard and went to her office. The small room was cooler, its light muted by the narrow window that faced a brick wall. She set the chart on the desk and opened it. Name, rank, age. 3 combat tours. Explosive ordnance disposal printed in a neat block. Mechanism of injury. Field care. Airlift. Surgery. She turned to the behavioral notes from Germany. Refused early rehabilitation. Verbally hostile with staff. Stated rehab is pointless. Request to be left alone. In the margin, in a different hand, someone had written, consider site consult. Peer contact if available. She flipped to the emergency contact sheet. Under next of kin, there was one word. None. No parents, no spouse, no sibling, a single box checked beside unit notified. She looked at the word until the letters went soft. Her hand went to her pocket. The challenge coin sat where it always did. She pressed her thumb into the metal through the fabric until her breathing steadied. Then she picked up a pen and began to write her own notes at the bottom of the page. By early afternoon, the gym was busy. Voices bounced off the high ceiling. Someone laughed near the balance balls. A wheelchair rolled over tile somewhere in the hall, the sound clear through the open door. Grace finished a shoulder stretch with an older patient and helped him transfer back into his chair. As she brushed chalk from her hands, Patricia from the nurses' station appeared in the doorway. Grace, Patricia said. You got a minute? Grace nodded and stepped into the hall. The air outside the gym felt cooler, the noise softer. There are 3 soldiers downstairs asking for Staff Sergeant Maddox, Patricia said. They have military IDs came in together. I checked the schedule. Visiting hours do not start for another 2 hours. Thought you should know before I send them up. 3 soldiers meant a unit not distant acquaintances. Grace pictured the empty emergency contact line in Cole's file. Are they family? Grace asked. In their words, yes, Patricia said. In the official paperwork, no. Where are they? Grace said. Main lobby. I will talk to them. Grace walked through the corridor toward the elevators. Monitors beeped inside rooms as she passed. A TV murmured behind a curtain. She tapped the call button and waited as the numbers above the doors blinked down. In the lobby, 3 men in uniform stood near the reception desk. They were out of place among the wheelchairs and walkers, their boots planted, as if expecting inspection. Eyes scanning the space without seeming to move. The tallest one had staff sergeant and then a rocker and chevron above the insignia of a sergeant first class. His build suggested years of kit and burden. Beside him, a lean sergeant with sharp eyes and a calm face stood with his hands loosely clasped. The youngest, a specialist, shifted his weight from foot to foot, gaze flicking constantly. They turned when she approached. Miss Hall, Patricia called. This is who I was talking about. The tall one nodded. Ma'am, he said. Sergeant First Class Ethan Ward. This is Staff Sergeant Leo Park Specialist Javier Cruz. We are here for Staff Sergeant Cole Maddox, if that is possible. His voice carried the flat weight of someone used to briefing bad news. His eyes did not. Grace studied them a moment. Same tan on their faces and necks. Same tired draw around the eyes. The way they stood, even here, left no gaps between them. How do you know him? She asked. We are his team, Leo Park said. His tone was quick, but there was nothing light in it. EOD 51st Ordnance. We have been trying to get to him since he left theater. Has anyone spoken to you about his condition? Grace asked. Only what the casualty affairs officer said when he called, Cruz answered. His voice was younger than his face. He is alive. He lost a leg. Germany. That is it. Ethan glanced at the nurse's desk, then back at Grace. We know visiting hours are later, he said. We can wait. We just wanted to make sure someone in charge knew we were here. He is going to pretend he does not want to see us. Grace felt the edge of a smile touch her mouth at the accuracy of that. He is my patient, she said. He has been refusing most things. That sounds right, Leo said. You are in uniform, Grace said. If I bring you up now, it will draw attention. We are not here for a scene, Ethan said. I know, she said. Come with me. Keep your voices low in the hall. Other patients are resting. They followed her to the elevators. In the mirrored panel above the buttons, she saw their reflection mixed with her own. 4 uniforms, 3 with visible rank, 1 with a hospital badge. On the ward, the air was warmer. They passed a room where someone whispered to a child. A TV played an old game show down the hall. Grace stopped outside Cole's door. She tapped once. Maddox, she said. You have visitors. Inside, he sat half reclined, the bed raised TV on with no sound. His attention rested somewhere beyond the window, rather than on the screen. He looked over, expecting a nurse. When he saw the 3 men behind her, his expression changed in a quick, unguarded flash. Shock, then something like relief, then embarrassment. His shoulders stiffened. What are you doing here? He said. The words came out rough. You are supposed to be in Kandahar. Nice to see you too, man, Leo said, grinning a little. His grin did not quite reach his eyes. We hitched a ride. Cruz lifted a hand in a small wave. Hey, Sarge, he said. Ethan stepped forward, hands at his sides, posture relaxed but precise. Staff Sergeant Maddox, he said. We have been calling you for 3 weeks. You keep letting it go to voicemail. We took the hint and decided to show up in person. Cole glanced at Grace. She caught the flicker of discomfort on his face. Do you need me to step out? She asked. He hesitated, jaw tight. You can stay, Ethan said before Cole could answer. If that is all right with you, ma'am. Grace looked to Cole. The room was now full of eyes on him. He cleared his throat. Stay or go, he said. Does not make a difference. Grace moved to the corner near the window and leaned against a cabinet, keeping quiet. She was close enough to hear, far enough not to crowd. Leo pulled the visitor chair up to the side of the bed and dropped into it. You look like shit, he said. It came out with a warmth that softened the words. Better than the last pic we saw, though. Please tell me you did not save any of those, Cole said. Too late, Cruz said. He dug in his pocket and pulled out his phone. We have a whole album. He tapped and held the screen up. The photo showed Cole months earlier in dusty body armor, helmet pushed back. Arms crossed, a half smile under a layer of grime. The background was a concrete wall and a tangle of wires. Grace saw him glance at the image and then away. He kept his face careful, but his hands shifted on the blanket. So, Ethan said, how is the 5-star German hospitality? They kick you out if you do not play nice with rehab, Cole said. Leo looked at the once neat bandaging line under the sheet. They kicked you out, he said, or you made that choice for them. Cole did not answer. We read the notes they sent, Ethan said. Landstuhl, Germany. Refused rehab. Refused PT. Walkers flying. That sound right. Walkers do not fly, Cole said. They crash one time, and I missed the nurse. You are losing your touch, Leo said. They let the teasing sit for a moment. Then Ethan took a breath and shifted in his chair. You remember Helmand, he said quietly. Cole's eyes sharpened. Every second, he said. Grace stayed very still. We were en route clearance, Ethan said. Convoy had just cleared phase line silver. Maddox calls a possible on the right shoulder. Standard pot, standard wires, standard everything. We do the drill. Outer cordon, inner cordon robotics. He spoke like he had told the story 100 times in his head, and never out loud. Robot finds primary device, Ethan went on. You neutralize it, we are all thinking we are done. You are not. You start scanning again. Say the spacing looks wrong. Say secondary is likely. Leo leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You got that look, he told Cole. The one that means everybody else missed something. Cruz nodded. You were right, he said. Secondary was tucked into the culvert, hidden behind debris. Robot could not reach it. We called for more assets, Ethan said. No one was close enough. We had a local bus idling back along the route filled with civilians. You had 10 minutes before that driver decided to turn around, maybe less. Cole stared at the wall in front of him. His fingers clenched in the blanket. I walked in anyway, he said. You did, Ethan said. You walked in with a suit that already took a beating. You went to work on a device wired to take out most of the convoy and anybody on that bus. You knew all that, you went anyway. It still went off, Cole said. His voice was flat and low. It went off wrong, Leo said. Because you made it go off wrong. Cruz swallowed his throat working. Blast pattern report came back 2 weeks later, he said. IED specialist from the Brits said if you had not cut the right line when you did, the secondary would have triggered a daisy chain. We would not be here. He lifted his hand and spread his fingers. There would be a crater where we were standing, Cruz said, and a bigger one down the road. Cole did not look at them, but his breathing had changed. Each inhale was sharp measured. I was slow, he said. I missed something. I should not have needed a second pass. Ethan shook his head once. You were the only one who saw the secondary at all, he said. Command knows that. The recommendation went up last month. Bronze star with Valor device. He looked down at his hands. They asked us for input on the citation, he said. We wrote that you moved toward the blast to pull it away from the rest of us. Cole let out a short laugh with no humor in it. That is a pretty line for paper, he said. You want the version in my head. It is probably harsher, Leo said. You are not a fair judge right now. Cruz unlocked the phone again and scrolled. Colonel Anders sent a message, he said. Said to read it to you. Cole flinched at the name but did not tell him to stop. Cruz squinted at the screen. Staff Sergeant Maddox, he read. Your actions on Route Red were in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and directly saved the lives of 8 soldiers and an unknown number of civilians. Your injury is a permanent mark of your courage. You will not be forgotten by this command. The room was quiet except for the air vent and the soft whir of the monitor at the bed. Cole pressed the heel of his hand to his eyes. That is nice, he said. Does not grow a leg? No, Ethan said. It does not. It also does not change the fact that I am not there anymore, Cole said. He let his hand fall back to the blanket. You three are still in. Anderson is still in. The unit rolls without me. I am not EOD on the line. I am just a hospital file. Leo looked like he wanted to argue and swallowed it back. You are still ours, he said instead. Cruz nodded hard. Your parents are gone, he said. You told us that the first week. You got no siblings. You called us your brothers. That stuck. Cole shifted his gaze to the window. The parking lot glowed under the midday sun. A maintenance worker pushed a cart past the edge of the frame. You guys did not have to come, he said quietly. Ethan glanced at Grace and then back to Cole. We did, he said. We needed to see you breathing, and we needed you to know that the day on Route Red is not the only line in your story. Cole let out another breath, not quite a sigh. You sound like a chaplain, he said. Chaplain uses big words, Leo said. We stick to the little ones. A corner of Cole's mouth twitched. It was not exactly a smile, but it was something. Grace watched all of this from her place in the corner, hands loose at her sides. She could feel the shape of the room press in. The weight of what had been said hung there. She understood now why rehab felt like an insult to him. In his head, the last meaningful thing he had done was step toward a device that should have killed him. Every exercise band, every transfer lived in a shadow cast by that choice. Patricia appeared briefly in the doorway, caught Grace's eye, and lifted her wrist, fingers tapping where a watch would be. Visiting time was almost up. Grace nodded. Ethan saw the exchange and rose from his chair. We need to let you rest, he said. We will be back. You do not have to, Cole said. We know, Leo said. Cruz tucked his phone away. We are giving you some time to get used to the views, he said. That is all. Ethan placed his hand gently on the blanket near Cole's good leg. You are not alone in this, he said. Something flickered in Cole's eyes again. He gave a small nod. Tell Anders I heard him, he said. Do not let Cruz write my citation. Too late, Leo said. He already put in a joke line. Cruz looked offended. It was one joke, he said. They made me take it out. They filed past Grace on their way to the door. Ethan paused. Mom, he said quietly. Thank you for taking care of him. I am trying, she said. That is more than he has let anyone do in a while. When they were gone, the room felt larger and emptier. Cole stared at the photos Cruz had left on the side table. Dusty faces, a group in front of a tent, a grin over a bomb suit visor. Grace stepped closer. How are you feeling? She asked. He did not look up. They should not have come, he said. They have work to do. None of them seemed to think this was a waste of time, she said. He turned one of the pictures with his fingers. It reminded me, he said, that there are people who still care what happens, even if I cannot be who I was. His voice softened on the last words. The admission hung between them. Grace watched him for a moment. Thank you for letting them in, she said. He gave a small shrug. They did not give me much choice, he said. They never do. She let that sit, then stepped back. I will see you in the gym tomorrow, she said. He did not agree. He did not refuse. He just kept looking at the photos as she left the room. Out in the hall, the door clicking shut behind her. Grace touched the coin in her pocket. The edges bit into her palm. She drew a breath, feeling the day tilt slightly on a new axis. The next morning, the gym smelled faintly of coffee under the usual disinfectant. Someone had left a half-finished cup on the edge of a mat. Grace moved it to the counter, wiped the ring it left, and checked the parallel bars again. It was a habit as much as a safety step. The clock on the wall read 8:56. Cole was scheduled for 9. She walked the length of the room once more to settle her thoughts, then to inspect anything. The challenge coin was a familiar weight in her pocket. Her fingers brushed it through the fabric, then fell away when she heard wheels in the hall. An orderly rolled Cole into the doorway right on time. He sat upright in the chair, not slouched, hands on the rims, jaw tight. His eyes landed on the bars, the mats, the prosthetic rack, then on her. He looked more awake than the day before, but not rested. There were shadows under his eyes. His hair was still a fraction too long, falling over that scarred eyebrow. Morning, Sergeant, Grace said. He did not respond. The orderly parked the chair by the beginning of the bars and stepped back. If you need anything, Ms. Hall, the orderly said. I have him, she answered. They were alone again. The sounds from the hall muted as the door eased almost shut. Grace pulled a stool near the chair. How did you sleep? She asked. It was a hospital night, he said. Any change in the phantom pain? He gave a short laugh. It is very proud of itself, he said. Keeps reminding me that it is there. She nodded once. We will start in the chair, she said. Core activation transfers if you tolerate maybe some time in the bars. That is going to be a no, he said. Tell me why. Because you can write the whole plan on the whiteboard and it still will not give me back what matters. He did not raise his voice. The bitterness in it came out quiet and steady. You are still here, she said. That matters. He looked at her as if he wanted to say something sharp and was too tired to find the words. You had visitors yesterday, she said instead. Your team. His expression closed down a notch. They had no business coming here, he said. They thought otherwise. They should be where the work is. Grace watched his hands. His grip on the wheels had turned white-knuckled. They told me about Helmond, she said. Route red. His head snapped around. They had no right to tell you that, he said. They did not fill in every detail, she said. They did not need to. What did they say? That you saw something no one else did, she said. That you walked in when you could have waited. That you drew the blast toward yourself instead of letting it take the convoy and the bus behind it. His jaw flexed. They make it sound noble, he said. I call it being too slow. You did not die, she said. They did not die. He stared at her. Do you know what happens after you get blown up, Ms. Hall? He asked. Everybody lines up to tell you how brave you were, how you saved their lives, how proud they are that you took the hit. They all mean well. They all go back to work. You stay in bed and listen to people call you a hero while you cannot get to the bathroom alone. He leaned forward in the chair. They turn the worst moment of your life into a tidy little story, he said. Then they expect you to clap for it. The air between them felt heavy. The hum of the lights grew more noticeable. I do not expect you to clap, she said. They want me to put on a leg and smile in some brochure, he went on. Look at the brave, wounded warrior folks. He got blown apart for your freedom, and now he can climb stairs, buy his own groceries, maybe teach a safety class. Meanwhile, someone else is disarming the real bombs. His voice had risen now. It carried to the far wall and back. Sergeant, Grace said quietly, we can talk about this without building it into something it is not. He gave a harsh sound that was almost a laugh. Building it into something it is not, he repeated. You mean like calling this rehab like it is going to return me to my team? He slapped his hand on the arm of the chair. I spent years training to walk into rooms that could kill me, he said. That was my job. That was who I was. Now my job is what? Learning how to hop to the shower without falling, learning how to put on a sock over a piece of plastic. He grabbed the water bottle from the tray on his chair and squeezed it until the plastic buckled. You tell me this matters as much as what I used to do, he said, and I'm going to throw something heavier than this bottle. He hurled it toward the wall. It hit with a flat crack and exploded in a spray of water. The bottle bounced to the floor and rolled under a mat. The splash arced across the mirror, across the mats, onto her shoes. For a moment, the whole gym was the sound of impact water, his breathing. The door opened fast. A tech from the hall looked in, followed by Patricia. Everything okay in here? The tech asked, eyes already sweeping the room for hazards. We heard a hit, Patricia said. Cole gripped the arms of his chair, shoulders locked, eyes bright with frustration. Grace lifted a hand toward the doorway. We are fine, she said. Please close the door. Patricia hesitated, glancing at Cole. Grace held her gaze calm and steady. I have him, Grace said. The tech picked up the empty bottle in silence. Patricia nodded once and pulled the door almost shut again. The outside noise faded. Grace turned back to Cole. Water slid slowly down the mirror behind him. Drops spattered the floor. Nice arm, she said. He stared at her. You should put that in your report, he said. Patient demonstrates excellent throwing mechanics, questionable self-control. I will note the range, she said. We can add baseball to your sport options. He let out a breath through his teeth. Stop trying to make this a joke, he said. Stop pretending this is just another tough case you can crack if you say the right soothing words. You do not get it. Grace took a step closer. Not enough to crowd him, just enough that she did not have to raise her voice. Then explain it, she said. He shook his head. You are a civilian therapist in a clean building in Texas, he said. You probably never left the country. You read about Helmond in a journal. You hear the word IED and think of pictures in a training slide. You do not wake up at night hearing the blast again. The image landed squarely on a place she kept shut. You walk into this room with a clipboard and some bands and think you can fix the part of me that broke, he said. You cannot. You have no idea what that part is. The fluorescent lights hummed above them. Water reached the bottom of the mirror and dripped onto the baseboard. Grace felt the coin in her pocket like a stone. Her heart knocked once, then again. The words in her chest pressed against her ribs. Staff Sergeant Maddox, she said quietly. I need you to listen to me for a moment. He snorted. I have been listening, he said. That is the problem. No, she said. You have been hearing what you expect to hear. This is different. There was something in her tone that made him pause. The anger did not vanish from his face, but it shifted edge now with curiosity. She reached up and touched the neckline of her scrub top, then tugged it down just enough to clear the chain around her neck. She pulled it free. Dog tags slid into view, dull and worn. The metal edges had tiny nicks. One tag was slightly warped, heat-damaged. Cole's eyes narrowed. He watched as she unhooked the chain and held it in her hand. Grace Hall, she said. Sergeant, United States Army, combat medic, 1st Brigade, 101st Airborne Division, Diyala Province, Iraq. She spoke the facts in the same steady tone she used to recite vital signs. I joined at 19, she said. Spent most of my time on convoy security and medical evac. On February 14th, we hit an IED outside Bakshuba. Our truck flipped, the engine caught fire. We had casualties in the back. I spent 6 weeks in a room down the hall from here. Same patch of sky, same smell of disinfectant, same ceiling tiles. She let the tags rest in her palm so he could see them clearly. I woke up without a uniform, she said. I woke up as a patient. He stared at the tags. His breathing had gone shallow, like he was trying not to disturb something fragile between them. You are a medic, he said. The hostility in his voice had drained away, replaced by something else. Was, she said. They rebuilt what they could. The rest of it did not meet the standard they needed. I signed my medical discharge papers in this building. His gaze flicked to the faint scar at her neck, to the white lines on her forearm she usually hid, then back to her face. Why did you not say anything? He asked. Because this is your rehab, not my war story, she said. Because I am not supposed to use my history to steer how you feel. That sounds like a policy answer, he said. It is, she said. And this, he said. His eyes dropped to the tags in her hand. What is this? This is me telling you that when you talk about blasts and ceiling tiles and people calling you a hero, while you cannot stand up, I am not reading that off a page, she said. I am remembering my own legs not listening to me. I am remembering a staff sergeant telling me I would find a new mission and wanting to throw something at him. He let out a breath that was almost like the start of a laugh and stopped halfway. You wanted to throw something at him, he said. I did throw something, she said. It was lighter than a walker. He looked at the wet streaks on the mirror, then at the spot on the wall where the bottle had landed. You hear it too, he said softly. The blast. On some nights, she said. Less often now. Other sounds get louder. Tires on the floor, kids laughing in the lobby, that sort of thing. He sat back a little, still watching her. The anger in his face had eased into a wary kind of attention. So when you walk in here with the clipboard and the bands, he said slowly, you are not just a civilian who read my chart. I am a therapist who was a soldier, she said. I know what it feels like to have your life split into before and after. He was quiet for a long moment. The gym seemed to shrink around them, the rest of the hospital fading to a distant hum. You still miss it, he said at last. Being in. Every day, she said. Then how do you stand working here? He asked, watching other people be the ones broken. Grace lifted the dog tags back over her head and tucked them under her shirt. The coin in her pocket pressed against her leg. I had to figure out a way to use what I have now, she said, not what I lost. He looked at her, as if weighing that, testing it against his own experience. His hands relaxed on the arms of the chair. The white had gone from his knuckles. He glanced at the parallel bars, then back at her. So you think, he said slowly, that learning to move in this room is worth something? I think it is part of the story, she said. I cannot write it for you. I can be in the room while you do. His mouth tightened, not in refusal, more in uncertainty. This is not me trying to sell you a slogan, she said. It is me letting you know I am not on the outside looking in. He lowered his eyes for a second, then raised them again. All right, he said quietly. Then talk to me like a soldier, not a file. Tell me what you really think happens if I do this or if I do not. Grace felt a shift inside her chest, small and undeniable, like something unlocking. She picked up the fallen water bottle, set it on the counter, and moved her stool a little closer to his chair. Okay, she said. Let us start there. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The gym felt smaller, as if the walls had drawn in around their corner of the room. The patter of water from the mirror to the floor set a slow rhythm. Cole shifted in his chair. You said talk like a soldier, he said. All right, here is what I know. If I do not play along with this, they send me somewhere quieter where nobody bothers me. I sit, I sleep, I watch TV, I do not have to fail in front of anyone. And if you do play along, Grace asked. I look stupid trying, he said. I fall, I hurt, I watch you write progress notes in a language that turns all my bad days into numbers. He gave her a look that was not quite a challenge, not quite a plea. That about covers the options, he said. Grace sat back on the stool, elbows on her knees. I will not lie and say you will not fall, she said. You will. It will hurt. Some days the numbers will not move, some days they will go backward. That is a terrible sales pitch, he said. I am not selling, she said. He studied her face. So what do you think happens if I refuse, he asked. You get weaker, she said. Muscles do not care how brave you are. They care about use. You stay in that bed and the rest of your body forgets what to do. When you change your mind and you will, the climb is steeper. And if I do it, he said. You get enough strength and control to make choices later, she said. Maybe you walk with a cane. Maybe you run. Maybe you decide you hate prosthetics and stick with a chair, but you can transfer in and out of it by yourself, and you can get in and out of a truck without 3 people hauling you. You get options. He looked past her at the bars, the mats, the rack of prosthetics. Options for what? He asked. I do not know yet, she said. You have skills I do not fully understand. EOD is more than a cool suit and a robot. A flicker of interest moved behind his eyes in spite of himself. You think so, he said. I saw the training reports in your file, she said. Instructor comments. You are not just the guy in the blast suit. You are the one who reads patterns, who makes decisions with bad information and a time limit. That is a poetic way to say I poked at bombs, he said. Grace shrugged. Whatever you call it, she said. It took more than big shoulders. You had to think. He watched her suspicious and intrigued at the same time. Where is this going? He asked. You keep talking about what you lost, she said. Your leg, your place on the team. That is real. But you did not lose everything. You still have your brain, your training, the way you see a room. Those can move even if your job title changes. He shifted the wheels of the chair, squeaking slightly. So you think rehab is how I get those back, he said. I think rehab is how you keep from locking them in a room with you and turning the key, she said. The corner of his mouth twitched again. The anger was still there, but it had softened into something more complex. How much of this did you rehearse? He asked. None, she said. I did not plan on you throwing the bottle. He glanced at the wet streak on the wall and snorted once. All right, he said. Let us say I believe you have seen some of this from the inside. How does that change what happens when I roll into this room? It means I am going to stop talking to you like a patient and start talking to you like someone who has done operational planning, she said. He raised a brow. Operational planning, he repeated. Yes, she said. You do not respond well to being coaxed into exercise. Fine. We strip the word exercise. We call this what it is for you, a training cycle. He watched her carefully now. You want to turn physical therapy into a mission brief, he said. Something like that, she said. Missions have objectives, risks, required assets. They have after-action reviews. You know how to think that way. So we use it. He leaned back and crossed his arms. Give me an example, he said. She nodded toward the parallel bars. Objective 1, she said. Shift from bed to chair and from chair to mat without losing your balance or wrecking the incision. Success means you can get out of bed without waiting half an hour for an overworked nurse. Risk is pain possible, fall, bruised pride. Assets are one therapist who knows how to catch you and one very stubborn staff sergeant. He tried not to smile and failed by a fraction. That is cute, he said. Now do something more complicated. Objective 2, she said. When the wound is healed, we load that leg into a prosthetic. You learn how it moves. Not because you're trying to pretend you never lost anything, but because you are not the kind of person who ignores a tool that is lying on the table. The joke landed. He tilted his head. Tool, he repeated. Gear, she said. Springs, carbon, microprocessors. You used to learn everything about the devices that wanted to kill your team. You telling me you would not study the thing that can get you to the kitchen. He looked at the rack of legs again. For the first time, his eyes did not flinch away. He studied the joints, the sockets, the hooks on the wall that held them. How much weight can those carry? He asked. Depends on the model, she said. You would get one fitted for you specifically. He kept looking. And what about failure points, he said. Stress fractures, mechanical breakdown. If there is a defect, we find it before it throws you, she said. They are tested hard. You would put them through more. His fingers loosened on the chair arms. It is not magic, she said. It is engineering. He gave a slow nod. So I become a test dummy, he said. A test operator, she said. You know the difference. Silence stretched for a moment. The idea settled in. You still have not answered the main question, he said. Which one? She asked. Why I should bother, he said. Beyond the speech about options. Grace thought of Cruz in the doorway the day before, hands twisting his cap. She thought of the empty line in the emergency contact form, the single word, none. You said yesterday that your parents are gone, she said. No siblings. He shrugged. That is what it is, he said. And your team calls themselves your brothers, she said. They say a lot of things, he said. They flew from a war zone to sit in a hospital lobby and wait for clearance to see you, she said. They are going to keep coming, whether you want them to or not. He looked uncomfortable with that. They should be training new teams, he said. They are, she said. While they are here, you have a choice. They can visit a man who is slowly disappearing into his bed, or they can visit someone who is working a problem they understand. Training cycle, new gear, different conditions. He frowned, thinking it through. You are saying I owe them, he said. I am saying you care what happens to them more than you care what happens to you, she said. I am asking if you can use that long enough to get your foot in the door. Her choice of phrase hung between them for a beat. He glanced at his covered stump, then back at her. The look was not offended, just sharp. Bad metaphor, she said softly. A little, he said. They both breathed out at the same time. The tension in the room shifted, not gone, but different. So the pitch is, he said, I get up and do this circus act for my squad. The pitch is you do it for you, she said. But if that is too much to ask right now, you can borrow them as a reason. He was quiet again. Somewhere in the hall, a call bell chimed soft and insistent. A cart rattled past. How long is this supposed to take? He asked. The whole rehab bet, she said. Depends. Weeks for basics, months for advanced, years for the head to catch up. I cannot give you a clear number. He looked almost relieved by the lack of false precision. And how long are you asking me to try before I tell you to forget it? He said. She considered. 1 week, she said. You show up when you're scheduled. You give the work an honest shot. At the end of 7 days, if you still want to sit in your room and let everything rust, we have that conversation then. 1 week is nothing, he said. Then it should be easy to give me, she said. He looked at the bars again. The last time he had glanced at them, his shoulders had closed. Now they stayed level. I am not promising I will not throw anything, he said. Then I will move the fragile objects, she said. A reluctant ghost of a smile touched his mouth. You really did throw something at that staff sergeant, he said. It bounced off the wall and hit me in the head, she said. He huffed out a short laugh. He dodged, he asked. He did not even flinch, she said. Just handed it back and told me my aim was off. Cole shook his head. Figures, he said. A longer silence settled, more thoughtful than strained. 1 week, he said finally. I will try it your way for 1 week. Not because I suddenly believe rehab is the key to the universe. I did not think you did, she said. I am doing it because Ward Park and crews flew around the world to watch me sit in a chair, he said. I can at least look like I'm moving. The honesty of it rang clear. That is enough, she said. He exhaled a sound that carried a hint of surrender and something like resolve. So what happens now? He asked. Now we write it down, she said. She crossed to the whiteboard on the far wall and uncapped a marker. The smell of ink cut across the disinfectant. In firm strokes, she wrote across the top. Maddox, week 1, training objectives. Underneath, she listed 3 numbered lines. Transfers, core control, standing tolerance. Beside each, she left space. Cole watched her hand move. What is that for? He said, nodding toward the blank space. Notes, she said. Your notes, huh? Mine stay in the chart. These are in your language. He considered that. You are really doing the mission log thing, he said. I told you, she said. You know how to work from a plan. She put the marker back and turned to him. For today, we start with transfers, she said. Chair to mat and back. We go slow. We talk through it like you would talk through approaching a device. You tell me what feels off, what feels like it might blow up in your face. He gave her a look. Bad metaphor again, he said. I will work on that, she said. He took a breath, then placed his right hand on the wheel and his left on the edge of the chair. Show me where you want me, he said. Grace moved to his side, set her hand near his shoulder without touching. First objective, she said quietly. Do not let the floor win. He pushed the chair forward until the footplate touched the mat. The small bump of impact sounded loud in the quiet space. He set his jaw and reached for the edge of the mat weight, shifting unused muscles, waking as he began to move. The first transfer was ugly. Cole scooted to the edge of the chair, jaw tight, one hand on the cushion, one on the mat. The chair wheels creaked. His right foot searched for traction on the floor. Slow, Grace said. Weight forward. Think about where your center is. My center is in Afghanistan, he muttered. Then bring it to Texas for a minute, she said. He shifted, pushed with his good leg, and lifted. His hips rose a few inches. For 1 second, his balance held. The next, his stump brushed the edge of the mat, and fire shot across his face. His arm buckled. The chair slid. Grace stepped in hand firm on his scapula, matching his movement, giving just enough support to keep him from dropping sideways. Got you, she said. Do not say that, he hissed through his teeth. Every medic who ever said that to me jinxed it. He grunted, corrected, and half fell, half lowered himself onto the mat. His breath came hard. Sweat beaded at his temple. He lay on his back, staring at the ceiling tiles, chest rising and falling. Congratulations, he said after a moment. You have successfully moved 1 sack of rocks 3 feet. Objective 1 complete, Grace said. I am not writing that on your little board, he said. You do not have to, she said. I will. She stepped away long enough to pick up a towel and the marker. On the whiteboard under transfers, she wrote, Chair to mat, minimal assist. Pain high, no falls. Cole watched from the mat. Minimal assist, he said. You saved my ass. I caught your shoulder, she said. You did the lift. He snorted, but he did not argue. When she handed him the towel, he pressed it to his face and then his neck, breathing into the cloth, letting the room settle around him. They did 2 more transfers before she called it. The second went worse than the first. The third went better. Each time he cursed, then adjusted, then cursed less. By the time she helped him back into the chair, his arms trembled with fatigue. "That is it," she said. "We stop here. Overworking will get you nowhere fast." "Somebody tell that to the army," he said. She smiled and rolled him back to his room. When Patricia met them in the hall, brows drawn, Grace answered the unspoken question with a small nod. "He worked," she said. Patricia's expression eased. The week slid forward, not in clean progress, but in a jagged line. On Tuesday morning, they repeated transfers until Cole could move from chair to mat and back without her touching him. He still needed her close. He still watched the floor, as if it might tilt. But his hands found the right hold faster. His movements were less frantic. His comments did not soften. They grew more compressed. "That hurt. Do not do that again." "This is stupid." He said those things without stopping the work. On Wednesday, she added core work. He sat on the edge of the mat stump, covered by a towel, good foot. Braced arms extended as he twisted to tap cones placed around him. "Why does this feel harder than the bombs?" he asked. "You cannot yell at your muscles from across the room," she said. He grunted and kept going. Sweat ran down his neck, darkening the collar of his t-shirt. The gym smelled like effort and antiseptic. After each session, she updated the whiteboard. Under core, she wrote, "Seated stability improving. Maddox complains loudly, completes all sets." One day she found in smaller letters under her notes, "Complain less tomorrow." The handwriting was jagged, but not hers. By Thursday afternoon, they stood in front of the prosthetic rack. An older man with a name tag that read, "Dr. Min Nguyen Prosthetics," set a long padded case on a low table. His hands moved with easy care, opening clasps, lifting components out onto a folded towel. "Sergeant Maddox," he said, "I am Min. I build and fit legs for people who have lost them. You and I are going to get very familiar with each other." Cole eyed the man, then the case. "That's supposed to be comforting," Cole said. "It is supposed to be honest," Min said. His voice held no apology. He pulled out a glossy black socket, a sleek metal pylon, a foot module that looked more like part of a machine than anything human. The light from the windows slid over carbon fiber and polished steel. "This is a temporary butt," Min said. "We shape and adjust as your residual limb changes. Once that stabilizes, we build your custom leg." Cole leaned forward, elbows on his knees. His gaze had gone sharp in a way Grace recognized from the earlier talk about devices. "What is the weight rating on that knee joint?" he asked. Min lifted the folded spec sheet from the case. "This configuration is rated for up to 220 pounds, he said. "With your current mass, you are well within margin." "What about shear stress if I step wrong on a slope?" Cole said. "If you step wrong anywhere, your body is at more risk than the hardware," Min said. "But the unit is tested under angled loads. If there is a failure, it will be in a controlled environment, not on your first walk to the parking lot." Cole reached out and wrapped his fingers around the pylon. The metal felt cool, dense, alive with potential. "How often do these break?" he asked. "Less often than human bones," Min said. That cracked something. Cole huffed a small sound that could have been a laugh. Grace watched him study the pieces. His thumb slid along the carbon blade, tracing the curve. "It is not a replacement," Min said. "You already know that. It is a tool. You can learn to use it." Grace heard her own earlier words in his. Cole must have heard them too. His jaw eased. "So step 1, Cole said. You bolt this thing to me." "We fit," Min said. "We do not bolt. You would complain more." They moved to a chair with adjustable armrests. Grace stayed close, studying the wheelchair as Cole transferred. His movements were better now, more efficient, less panicked. Min wrapped a thin sock over the stump, then slid the socket on with careful pressure. Cole's breath hitched when the plastic pressed into healing tissue, but he did not pull away. "Rate that pain," Min said. 7, Cole said. 8 on the spots that complained the most. "That is too high for our starting point," Min said. He marked a few places on the socket with a pencil. "We relieve here and here." He disappeared to the workroom, the sound of sanding faint through the wall. Grace stood beside Cole. "How does it feel besides painful?" she asked. "Heavy," he said. "Like something else is in the room with us." "That is the engineering," she said. "And your brain waking up to a new shape?" He looked at her, then down again. "You get fitted?" he asked. She shook her head. "My injuries were different," she said. "No hardware." "Just scars," he said. "And some extra metal in places it should not be," she said. Min returned, adjusted the socket, tried again. The second time the fit went smoother. The pain dropped to a number Cole considered tolerable. 4, he said. "Maybe 5 when I flex. That we can work with," Min said. He attached the pylon and foot module, locking each connection with a practiced twist of tools. The assembled limb looked both alien and precise, like a piece of a machine waiting to be installed. Cole looked at the line where carbon met skin. Feels wrong, he said quietly. It will, Min said. For a while. Grace moved the parallel bars closer. The overhead lights reflected off the shiny surfaces. The floor beneath them gleamed. When you are ready, she said. I do not think ready is coming, he said. Then we do it unready, she said. He rolled forward until the foot of the prosthetic rested between the bars. Min locked the wheelchair brakes. Grace took a position at Cole's left close enough to catch him. Cole placed both hands on the bars. His knuckles went white. Shift your weight toward the prosthetic, Min said. Slowly. Do not commit fully yet. Just let the joint feel pressure. Cole closed his eyes and pulled in a breath. The gym went very quiet. Even the air vent seemed to hush. He pushed through his right foot, lifted slightly, and let his weight slide onto the artificial limb. The socket bit into tender tissue. The joint wobbled under his uncertainty and then caught. His expression twisted. Sweat popped on his forehead. That is a 10, he said through clenched teeth. That is your brain panicking, Min said. Breathe. Grace felt the tremor traveling up his arm through her hand. She matched his rhythm, not holding him up just there. Count, she said. In your head if you want. Give me 3 seconds. He held for 1, 2, 3. Then he tipped back into the chair and sagged against the backrest, breathing hard. I hate that thing, he said. You touched weight, Min said. That is more than you did this morning. They tried again. Each attempt lasted a little longer. 3 seconds became 5. 5 became 8. With each shift, the sound of the prosthetic foot on the mat changed from awkward scrape to a more solid thump. By the end of the session, he had stood fully upright, between the bars 4 times, using both legs to hold himself. His arms shook with the effort. His shirt clung to his back. When they wheeled him back to his room, he said nothing. His face had gone pale from fatigue. As the chair crossed the threshold, the little bump of the door strip clicked under the wheels. The sound was small, but clear. After he was settled, Grace took a detour to the administrative wing. Harper's office door stood half open. He sat at his desk reading glasses, perched low, a stack of charts in front of him. A cup of coffee left a dark ring on a coaster at his elbow. Do you have a minute? Grace asked. He looked up and gestured to the chair opposite. For you always, he said. How is our favorite EOD tech? Walking is a generous term, she said. He stood between the bars on a temporary prosthetic for all of 8 seconds. Harper's mouth quirked. 8 seconds is longer than most people stay on a bull, he said. I read your notes and the incident report. The bottle, she said. The bottle, he said. The nurses were impressed you did not flinch. I saw it coming, she said. He set his glasses down. Grace, he said, I need to talk to you about something that is not in the written notes. She went still. I ran into your name in an old roster, he said. 101st, Diyala. I connected that with the medical record I signed here years ago. I should have put it together sooner. He spoke without accusation. It still made her shoulders tighten. You have not exactly advertised your background, he said. I did not think it mattered, she said. It clearly does, he said. Cole started cooperating at the same time you started using words like mission objective on your session sheets. He picked up a thin folder from the corner of his desk. Inside, copies of her last few notes included phrases like training cycle and operational framing. I am not here to scold you for creativity, he said. His progress is proof something in your approach is working. I am here because I need to know where the line is. She held his gaze. I told him I had served, she said, that I had been a patient here. I did not give him details he did not ask for. And he responded, Harper said. He stopped seeing me as just another civilian, she said. It opened the door. Harper nodded slowly. There are professional boundaries for a reason, he said. We are not supposed to lean on our own trauma to reach patients. I know, she said. At the same time, he added, this ward is full of people whose trauma is tied directly to service. Civilian therapists do not fully understand. He leaned back, folding his hands over his stomach. I am not going to tell you to shut that part of yourself away, he said. I am going to ask you to document what you are doing. Carefully. If you are going to build treatment around shared experience, I need a record that another therapist could follow without stepping off a cliff. You want a protocol, she said. Exactly, he said. Call it whatever you like. Veteran-informed rehab, peer-framed therapy. I need it on paper. She thought of the whiteboard in the gym, of the way Cole's eyes had changed when she spoke to him in words he recognized. I can do that, she said. Good, he said. And Grace? Yes, sir. If you need anything, he said. For you, not for him, my door is open. She knew what he meant. She nodded once and stood. Back in the gym that afternoon, sunlight angled through the windows. Dust motes floated in the beams. The whiteboard still held the morning's objectives. Cole rolled in without an orderly hands on the rim's face set. The temporary prosthetic was strapped on the foot, hovering slightly above the floor when he sat square in the chair. He positioned himself at the beginning of the bars and locked the brakes. His movements had a new sharpness, the old operational focus in his eyes. Min said you made him earn his paycheck, Grace said. Min likes his tools too much, Cole said. I asked for specs. He almost smiled. That is dangerous, she said. He placed his hands on the bars and pulled himself upright. The muscles in his forearms stood out. The prosthetic foot found the ground with a muted, uncertain tap. Weight through both legs, she said. Think about the contact points. Thinking about falling, he said. Thinking about not falling, she said. He shifted testing feeling for the line where balance tilted. He moved his right foot a tiny distance forward, then brought the prosthetic into match. One fraction of a step, then another. For the first time since the surgery, both his legs, one flesh and bone, one metal and carbon, carried his weight forward along the lane. The bars rattled under his grip. Let go for a second, she said. Just a second. I am right here. That is what they all say, he said. I am not them, she said. He swallowed, then loosened his fingers. For one breath, then two, his hands floated a hair above the bars, while his body held. The sound of his prosthetic foot hitting the mat in that moment was a solid, clean thump. It echoed in the quiet room. He grabbed the bars again, then laughed once, short and surprised. That was stupid, he said. That was standing, she said. When they finished, he sat back in the wheelchair, sweat dampening his hair. He looked at his hands for a long moment, then tugged at the fingerless glove on his right hand. He peeled it off and held it up between two fingers. What are you doing? She asked. He turned and tossed it into the trash can by the wall. It landed with a soft final rustle. Figured I will not need two, he said. By the second week, the whiteboard in the gym looked less like a list of chores and more like an actual board from a planning room. Maddox, week 2, training objectives. Transfers had 3 check marks beside it. Core control was underlined with notes in 2 different handwriting styles, as standing tolerance had numbers that crept upward every day. 8 seconds, 11, 15 with minimal assist. Underneath in a cramped script that was not Grace's, someone had written, "Do not let Hall skip my rest periods." Grace had not erased it. On a gray Tuesday afternoon, as rain streaked the windows, Patricia stepped into the gym with a chart in hand. Got a new admit headed your way, she said. Marine, 2 days post-op, lost a leg. He is already scaring the nurses. Name, Grace asked. Tyler Briggs, Patricia said. 22, infantry, states he is not interested in therapy, thanks. Grace absorbed that with a small nod. Room, she said. 14B, Patricia said. She lowered her voice a little. Feels familiar. After she left, Grace wrote the name on a sticky note and pressed it to the edge of her monitor. She finished Cole's session, watched him maneuver through a short obstacle pattern without hitting any cones, and then walked him back to his room. On the way, as the chair rolled past the nurse's station, she stopped. Cole, she said, how do you feel about meeting another amputee? He glanced back at her. That is a word I'm still not ready to tattoo on my forehead, he said. How do you feel about meeting another Marine who just got here and is acting like he invented the idea of refusing therapy, she said. He understood that immediately. His mouth tightened. You want me to show off my new party tricks? He said. I want him to hear this from someone who is not wearing a badge, she said. You talk differently to each other. He considered, eyes narrowing. This is that peer thing they wrote in my file, he said. The notes from Germany, among other things, she said. He thought about it, then shrugged. I will roll by, he said. If he throws anything, I am blaming you. I will make sure it is plastic, she said. Room 14, B smelled strongly of fresh dressings and the metallic tang of blood that still seeped beneath them. The curtains were half drawn. The TV played some daytime show no one watched. Tyler Briggs lay flat on his back, one arm thrown over his eyes. His hair had been shaved recent, leaving a faint pale line where a helmet strap had been. The sheet covered him to the waist. Where his left leg should have shaped the fabric, there was a sharp drop under the blanket. He moved his arm when the wheelchair rolled in. I told you people I'm not doing this today, he said. Then stopped when he saw the uniform shirt on Cole and the hospital badge on Grace. Oh, he said. They brought a motivational speaker. Cole snorted. If I was a motivational speaker, he said, they would not let me wear this beard. Tyler squinted. You a doc? He asked. No, Cole said. I blow things up for a living, or I did. Tyler frowned, trying to place the story. You EO'd, he said. Used to be, Cole said. Staff Sergeant Cole Maddox, that is Hall. She runs this floor like a small dictatorship. Grace had taken a place near the foot of the bed, arms crossed, loosely content to let the 2 men circle each other. Briggs, Tyler said. Corporal, 3rd Marines. I am fine, thanks. You can tell whoever sent you that I do not need rehab or pep talks. You have been here 2 days, Cole said. You already hate the word rehab. That is fast work. Tyler shifted, winced as the movement pulled at his bandages. I know how this goes, he said. They drag you into a gym, make you play with bands, tell you how brave you are, while they measure how bad you walk. I would rather skip to the part where I am left alone. Cole nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. That is about what I thought too. Tyler eyed him. You look like you're doing just fine, he said. You got both shoes on. Look closer, Cole said. He lifted the leg of his sweatpants. The temporary prosthetic gleamed in the fluorescent light, carbon and metal framed by fabric. Tyler froze. His gaze tracked from the socket to the foot, then up to Cole's face. You lost it, he said quietly. Left leg above the knee, Cole said. Helmand. Same gift box, different road. Tyler's throat moved as he swallowed. How long ago? He asked. 3 weeks, Cole said. Give or take the time I spent arguing with the staff in Germany. Grace watched the numbers line up in Tyler's head. You did all that standing in 3 weeks? Tyler said. I did all that arguing in 3 weeks, Cole said. The standing started about a week ago. Tyler gave a short, humorless laugh. They get you too, he said. They do not get you, Cole said. You decide or you do not. I tried the not part. It was loud in my head and boring everywhere else. Tyler stared at the ceiling. It is not boring, he said. It is quiet. Quiet is good. The wrong kind of quiet is not, Cole said. Tyler did not answer. Grace stayed silent. This was the space she had hoped for, the one she knew her words could not reach as directly. You think they are just going to measure how bad you walk, Cole said. They will. They have charts. They like charts. But they are also going to show you where your body can still move on purpose. You can stand up and leave this room under your own power, or you can stay here until someone wheels you somewhere you hate. Tyler shifted again, staring at the blanket where his leg should have been. It does not change what I am not, he said. No, Cole said. It does not. You are not who you were. That is the part that sucks. There is no getting around it. He rolled closer, close enough that Tyler could see the scuffs on the prosthetic and the sweat-darkened patches on Cole's shirt. You want somebody to tell you it is all going to be okay, Cole said. That you are going to run marathons and climb mountains and forget any of this happened. You are in the wrong room. I cannot say that. I wake up angry more days than not. Tyler looked at him, then straight on. So what are you saying? He asked. I am saying it is possible to be angry and still get out of bed, Cole said. It is possible to hate every exercise and still do it. It is possible to stand up and feel like your leg is on fire and do it again the next day. He rested his hand on the armrest fingers, tapping once, twice. I'm also saying, he added, that if you throw a bottle at Hall, she will catch it and make fun of your aim. Tyler blinked, then gave a reluctant half smile. You throw something? He asked. Long story, Cole said. Grace lifted a brow. That is in the chart, she said. Tyler looked between them, some calculation shifting behind his expression. So you are what now? He said. Official rehab ambassador? Cole shrugged. Not official, he said. She asked if I wanted to talk to you. You remind me of a guy I knew. Me, Tyler exhaled. She tell you to say all this? He asked. No, Cole said. If she had, it would sound nicer. Silence unfurled for a moment. The TV audience laughed at something neither of them heard. What if I do not want to stand? Tyler said quietly. What if I just want this to be over? Cole's face closed for a heartbeat, then opened again. I wanted that too, he said. The problem is, it is not. You are alive. As long as you are breathing, you are stuck figuring out what to do with the time. Tyler stared at the ceiling again. 1 session, Cole said. Go to the gym 1 time. Do not do it for you. Do it because some poor EOD sergeant rolled his new leg down the hall to talk to you instead of taking a nap. Tyler huffed another small breath that might have been a laugh. Is this a guilt trip? He asked. It is a mission brief, Cole said. Objective, get to the gym, execute cool down, complain loudly, debrief later. Grace saw something ease in Tyler's posture. Not much, but enough. I will think about it, Tyler said. That is all I am asking, Cole said. On the way back to the gym, the wheels of the chair thumped over the door strip. Cole kept his eyes forward. That felt strange, he said. What? Grace asked. Being on the other side of the talk, he said. You did not sound like a script, she said. I sounded like every irreverent staff sergeant I ever hated, he said. They usually had a point, she said. He was quiet for a stretch, then asked, You going to write that in your protocol? I'm going to write that patients respond to peer contact using shared language and experience, she said. I am not sure how to translate whatever you just did into clinical terms. Call it controlled griping, he said. That evening, long after most of the ward lights had dimmed, Grace drove to a 2-story brick building on the edge of town. The sign out front read, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 914. Neon beer logos glowed faintly in the window. Inside, the air smelled of old wood-fried food and faint smoke that clung to the rafters from years before the ban. A pool table sat under a low lamp in one corner. A muted game played on the bar television. At a small table by the wall, a man in a wheelchair nursed a beer. He wore a faded infantry t-shirt. His beard had gone mostly gray. His left pant leg was folded and pinned up. "Look who finally remembered her own people," he said as she approached. "Hi, Mark," she said. He leaned back, studied her. "You look tired," he said. "Worse than usual." "Busy week," she said. "Busy saving the new kids," he said. Too busy to answer texts from the old ones. She flinched just a little. "I am here now," she said. He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit," he said. "Tell me why your voice sounds like mine did when I first got this thing." He knocked his knuckles lightly against the side of his chair. She sat. The chair creaked under her. "I have a patient," she said. "You always have a patient," he said. "This one is different, she said. "He is EOD, lost a leg. He fought everyone at first. It felt like holding up a mirror I did not ask for." "And you did what you do," Mark said. "You pushed, you talked, you forgot to sleep." "I told him I used to be in," she said. "I showed him the tags." Mark lifted his brows. "That is new," he said. "Harper knows now," she said. "He wants me to build a protocol around using that very carefully." Mark took a sip of his beer. "And you," he said, "are taking on more weight than your back is rated for." She watched the bubbles rise and pop in his glass. "He is getting up," she said. "He is standing. He is talking to other vets. It is working." Mark nodded. "It would," he said. "Our people respond to our people." He studied her a moment longer. "You seeing anyone?" he asked. "Patients," she said. He did not smile. "You know what I mean," he said. "For you, shrink, group, something." She hesitated. "I go to the staff debriefs when I can," she said. "Those are meetings, not therapy," he said. "I am fine," she said. "You are fine because you are pouring everything into that ward," he said. "What happens when someone does not get up? When someone like your EOD kid decides the chair is home?" She did not answer. The question sat between them. "Talk to someone who is not in one of your charts," Mark said. "Even medics need medics." She looked away toward the bar, where another veteran laughed at something the bartender said. "I will think about it," she said. "That is what your patient told you today," he said. She huffed out a breath that might have been a laugh. "Maybe it is contagious," she said. When she left the bar, the night air tasted cool and clean after the layered smells inside. She stood by her car a moment, head tipped back, watching a small plane blink across the sky. In her pocket, the challenge coin pressed against her leg. She turned it between her fingers once before getting in. The next morning, when she walked into the gym, Cole was already there. He sat in his chair near the whiteboard, a pen in hand. "What are you doing?" she asked. He stepped back so she could see. Under core control in his own writing, he had added, "Talked Marine Briggs into showing up. Objective met pending attendance." Grace looked at the words, then at him. "That accurate, John?" she asked. "He said he would think about it," Cole said. "That is as close to a yes as I would have given anyone at his stage." She nodded slowly. "Guess we need a new section," she said. She uncapped a marker and wrote beneath the last objective. "Peer contact." Next to it, she wrote, "Initial." Cole watched, then reached for the pen in her hand. "Let me," he said. She gave it to him. In careful blocky letters, he added, "One-on-one vet to vet, no paperwork, some swearing." Grace let herself smile. "I will translate that part for Harper," she said. "Good luck," he said. By late summer, the gym sounded different. There were more voices, more movement, more small collisions of metal on tile. Laughter surfaced between the groans. The sharp smell of disinfectant had a constant overlay now of sweat and coffee and the rubber of shoes that actually went somewhere. On a bright Monday morning, Grace stood by the doorway and watched Cole run the warm-up. He was not in the wheelchair. He stood in the center of the floor, on his temporary prosthetic weight, balanced posture, straight. A ring of patients circled him, some in chairs, some on crutches, one on 2 prosthetic legs that still wobbled. "All right," Cole said. 10 torso twists, nobody cheat. If you cheat, I make you do 12. He demonstrated twisting slowly side to side, arms out. The others followed. The Marine Tyler Briggs sat on the edge of a mat stump, rapt, eyes narrowed with concentration as he copied the movement. Sweat darkened the neck of his t-shirt. Grace moved around the edges, checking form, adjusting hands, spotting where needed. When one of the younger amputees lost balance, Cole caught him at the elbow before Grace even had to step in. "See," Cole said. "You fall, we pick you up, then we laugh at you. It is a community service." The kid grinned, embarrassed and encouraged at the same time. At the far wall, the whiteboard had changed. The top line still read Maddox, but underneath the original training objectives, there were new sections in different colors. Peer contact group sessions 3 times weekly, attendance improving. Notes, patients engage more with tasks explained in service language. Under that, someone had drawn a small, crude bomb with a smiley face. Grace suspected Leo. When the warm-up ended, Cole clapped his hands once. Break into your pairs, he said. Do what Hall tells you. Try not to make her regret coming to work. You are very supportive, Grace said as she passed him. I am a delight, he said. He walked with her to the parallel bars, no walker, no cane. The prosthetic foot met the floor with a solid, even sound. His gait still had a mechanical hitch, but it was smoother now, more confident. He moved with the awareness of someone who trusted his equipment enough to test it. Review board is this Friday, Grace said. Harper reminded me twice, Cole said. He looked like he wanted to shine my shoes. Nerves, she said. I thought he was supposed to be the steady one, Cole said. She did not answer. She had seen Harper in his office, the evaluation forms, spread out the numbers, all pointing in the same direction. That did not make the decision easier. It only made it clear. The days between moved quickly. Sessions blended into each other. On Tuesday, Cole worked with Tyler on uneven surfaces. They set up foam pads, low blocks, and narrow balance beam. The younger man cursed every third step, caught himself every fourth, and grinned every fifth. On Wednesday, Grace watched Cole lead a smaller circle near the windows, talking about what to expect from the first outing outside the hospital. He spoke without notes, hands moving as he illustrated the problem of curbs and crowded sidewalks. He did not use the word inspiring. He did not use any of the phrases printed on the posters in the lobby. He said things like, "You are going to hate the first time your leg slips. That does not mean you do not try again." The others listened with a focus Grace had never seen them give a visiting lecturer. On Thursday afternoon, she sat at her desk reviewing Cole's chart. The thick stack of pages traced his path from the angry man who had refused to stand to the patient who now had his own column on the whiteboard. Transfers independent. Core control strong. Standing tolerance unrestricted in gym setting. Prosthetic mobility advanced with room for refinement. She flipped to the last page of her notes and added, patient demonstrates significant physical progress, but most notable change is in engagement with others. Acts as informal peer mentor for multiple amputees and new admissions. She hesitated, then wrote, appears to have reconnected to sense of purpose, separate from prior field role. She stopped herself from adding more. The rest would be in the board's questions, in Cole's answers. Friday came with clear light and a breeze that rattled the leaves in the small courtyard outside the evaluation room. The room itself held a long table, 6 chairs on one side, 2 on the other. A projector hummed quietly its blue screen ready for data that no one had bothered to set up. Harper sat at the middle of the panel, flanked by a psychologist, a prosthetics director, a social worker, and 2 rehab physicians. Cole sat in one of the chairs opposite, leaning slightly back, wearing a button-down shirt and clean jeans. His EOD unit patch was sewn above the left pocket. The temporary prosthetic was hidden under the denim, only the slight angle of his left trouser leg giving it away. Grace occupied the other chair. Technically, she was there as the primary therapist, but she felt more like a witness. Harper cleared his throat. Staff Sergeant Maddox, he said. Thank you for coming in. This is your formal rehabilitation review and discharge planning meeting. Cole gave a small nod. Yes, sir, he said. Harper flipped to the top sheet of the chart. You arrived at Brookhaven 6 months ago, he said. At that time, you refused to participate in therapy and expressed that rehabilitation was, and I quote, pointless. That sounds like me, Cole said. In the last several months, your participation has shifted, Harper said. We would like to hear your perspective on that. What changed? Cole glanced briefly at Grace, then back at the panel. I got tired of listening to my own voice telling me no, he said, and a couple of people refused to let me sink into the mattress. Was it the physical progress, the psychologist asked? The standing, the walking? That helped, Cole said. Feeling like I could move on purpose again. But if that was all, I would have quit when it started to hurt. It was more that Hall talked to me like I still had a job. Harper rested his chin briefly on his hand. What does that mean? He asked. She stopped saying exercise, Cole said. She started saying objectives. She talked about training cycles. She did not pretend this would put me back in Helmand, but she made it clear it could put me somewhere that mattered. And do you feel like you are in that place now? The social worker asked. Not yet, Cole said, but I can see the road. The prosthetics director leaned forward. Tell us about your current mobility, he said. In your own words. I can walk in the gym on level surfaces without a cane or walker, Cole said. I can handle short distances outdoors with support. Stairs are slow but doable with rails. I can transfer in and out of bed vehicles and chairs without assistance. He spoke as if reading from a checklist. Harper nodded. And your plans after discharge? He asked. Cole reached down and took a folder from the floor beside his chair. He set it on the table and slid out an envelope. I got this last week, he said. From the University of Texas at Austin. He handed the letter across. Harper unfolded it. The official seal at the top glinted under the fluorescent light. Dear Mr. Maddox, Harper read. We are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted into the Department of Biomedical Engineering with a focus on prosthetics and assistive devices beginning in the spring term. He looked up the faintest hint of a smile in his eyes. You want to build these things now, he said. Cole shrugged one shoulder. I spent years learning how to take apart devices designed to hurt people, he said. Figured I can spend the next part of my life helping build ones that keep them moving. That is a shift, the psychologist said. It is familiar, Cole said. Different tools, same stakes. People get to come home. Harper set the letter down. And you feel ready for that step, he asked. Cole thought for a moment. I feel as ready as anyone who still wakes up with explosions in his head, he said. I have enough mobility to get around campus with adaptations. I have a support network. I have a plan for when things go sideways. Support network, the social worker repeated. Can you describe that? Ethan Ward, Leo Park, Javier Cruz, Cole said. My unit brothers. They are rotating through stateside now. Tyler Briggs and the other guys from here who are finishing soon. Hall, whether she likes it or not. He said the last line with a glance at her that was almost amused. We have a group that keeps in touch, he added. We yell at each other if someone drops off the radar. The panel made notes, pens scratched softly on paper. Any current issues with mood or thoughts of self-harm? The psychologist asked. Cole's jaw flexed. I have dark days, he said. I imagine that is true for everyone on this floor. They are less frequent than they were. When they show up, I call someone or I come to the gym and lift something until it feels smaller. He paused, then added, I do not spend time making plans I do not intend to carry out. The psychologist nodded, apparently satisfied with the nuance. Harper closed the chart. From a strictly medical standpoint, he said, you have met and in some areas exceeded our rehabilitation goals. Prosthetic training will continue as an outpatient. From a psychological standpoint, you demonstrate insight and a support system. He looked to the others. One by one, they nodded. The board approves your discharge to independent living with outpatient follow-up, Harper said. You will meet with our social worker for housing and school coordination. Cole let out a slow breath he had not seemed aware of holding. Copy that, he said. After the meeting out in the quieter corridor, Cole leaned against the wall for a moment, as if adjusting to the new weight of the word discharged. How do you feel? Grace asked. Like I just got my orders, and they are written in a language I only half speak, he said. You will learn it, she said. He fell quiet. A transport team pushed a gurney past them, the patient asleep. The wheels thumped over the seam in the floor. I used to watch guys leave the combat support hospital with their gear in trash bags, he said. Never thought about paperwork on this side. You have actual luggage, she said. That is an upgrade. He huffed a small laugh. Yeah, he said, an upgrade. That afternoon, when the gym cleared for a moment between sessions, he found her there sitting on a mat, writing notes. Hall, he said. She looked up. Report, she said. He rolled his eyes and stepped closer. I have something for you, he said. He reached into his pocket and brought out a small, round object. She recognized the feel of it before she saw it. Challenge, coin. The metal glinted in his palm. One side bore the insignia of his EOD unit, the other held engraved words. The mission continues. He held it out. You do not have to take it, he said, but I would feel better if you did. She stared at the coin, then at him. This is your unit coin, she said. I have others, he said. They will probably make more. This one is for people who did not walk away when it would have been easier. The words landed with more force than he might have intended. She took the coin. It was warm from his hand. The edges were still sharp, not yet worn from years of turning. So I am an honorary ordnance tech now, she said. You are something worse, he said. You are the person we send the stubborn ones to. I thought that was already my job, she said. Now it is official, he said. She turned the coin over in her fingers. The motto caught the light. It is a good line, Rashid said. It is true enough that I had it put on the batch we ordered, he said. If anybody asks, I'm going to tell them I stole it from you. She closed her hand around the coin. Through the fabric of her pocket, she could feel the old one from her own unit, and now this new one, 2 circles of metal that marked different lives pressed against each other. Thank you, she said. He nodded once. Do not lose it, he said. I have not lost the last one, she said. Then we are even, he said. Later, after he had gone back to his room to meet with the social worker, Grace sat alone in the gym. The afternoon light slanted across the bars and mats. The whiteboard listed objectives that were nearly all checked off. She took out both coins and set them on her palm. One old edges smoothed by years, one new lines still crisp. She closed her fingers around them and listened to the sounds of the ward. A cart rolling, a monitor beeping. Somewhere down the hall, someone laughed. In a few days, the bed that had held Cole for 6 months would be empty. The gym would still be here. So would the whiteboard. So would the names that had begun to gather in the peer contact section. She slipped the coins back into her pocket, stood, and picked up the marker. Under peer contact, she wrote in small letters, "Programmed to continue post-Maddox discharge. New mentors emerging." The ink glided smoothly over the white surface. The words were simple. The work behind them was not. She set the marker down and went to meet her next patient. The chapel sat on a low hill above the lake, white stone glowing in the afternoon sun. Live oaks framed the path branches, heavy with green. On the water below, small waves pushed against the shore, soft and steady. Grace stepped out of her car and smoothed the front of her dress. No scrubs today, no badge on a lanyard. The air smelled of cut grass and hot pavement and faint perfume drifting from clusters of guests along the path. Ahead, the chapel doors stood open. Light poured through the wide arch. A pair of honor guards in dress uniforms flanked the entrance blades held in the formal attention of a ceremony. The metal caught the light in bright flashes. She climbed the path, heels crunching on gravel. With each step, the murmur of conversation grew clearer, bits of laughter threading through. Somewhere inside, a string quartet tuned the notes drifting out in short, searching phrases. At the top of the steps, she paused, fingers brushing the challenge coin in her clutch. The metal was smooth from months of carrying it. One side bore her old unit crest, the other Cole's read, "The mission continues." A greeter checked her name against a list. "Ms. Hall," he said. "Family side front, 3 rows. Family." The word sat in her chest with a weight that was not unpleasant. She moved into the cool dim of the chapel. Candles lined the aisle in tall glass cylinders. Light from the stained glass windows splashed color across the polished floor. Rows of uniforms and dark suits filled the pews, bits of ribbon rack and service pins catching the low light. She found her seat near the front and slid in. To her left sat Ethan Ward in his dress uniform, his wife beside him. Leo Park and his wife occupied the row behind their infant son dozing against his mother's shoulder, tiny fist knotted in the fabric of her dress. Javier Cruz waved when he spotted Grace, his tie slightly crooked, his smile the same. Across the aisle, she recognized other faces. Tyler Briggs, standing solidly on his prosthetic hair, longer now, hand resting lightly on the back of his date's chair. Marcus, from years ago at Brookhaven, his right sleeve pinned at the elbow, his left arm wrapped around his wife, while their toddler banged a plastic toy against the pew. Further back, Dr. Harper sat with a small cluster of staff from the hospital. Seeing him away from his office without a chart in front of him made the years feel both long and compressed. The murmur in the chapel faded as the music shifted, settling into a familiar processional tune. The honor guards at the entrance straightened. Cole entered from a side door at the front of the chapel. For a second, Grace saw him as he had been the first day at Brookhaven, staring at the ceiling blanket pulled over the place where his legs should have been. That image faded against the one in front of her. He wore his dress uniform medals lined up in neat rows over his chest. His posture was straight, shoulders squared. The trouser leg on his left side fell in a clean line over the high-performance prosthetic beneath. When he walked to his place at the altar, the sound of his steps was firm. Flesh on one side, engineered materials on the other, both hitting stone in the same confident rhythm. Ethan, Leo, and Javier took their positions as groomsmen. A hush settled more deeply over the crowd. The music changed. The guests stood. Hannah Reyes appeared at the back of the chapel on her father's arm. She wore an elegant white dress, tailored to show, not hide, the prosthetic arm that replaced her right forearm. The metal and composite gleamed beneath a sheer sleeve. Her hair was pinned back, dark eyes bright as she looked down the aisle. Grace knew parts of Hannah's story: Army intelligence, a blast outside a compound in Syria, a long stay in another ward like Brookhaven, then a turn toward counseling at the VA. Her path and Cole's had crossed in a peer group, 2 wounded veterans who already spoke the same language. As Hannah moved forward, the honor guards lifted their swords to form an arch. She passed beneath, hand tight on her bouquet. The light from the stained glass broke across her dress in bands of red and blue. Cole's face changed as he watched her. Some of the tension she had seen in him for years melted, replaced by something open and impossible to misread. Her father released her hand at the front. Cole took it carefully, as if it were both known and new. The officiant was an older man in uniform, silver eagles on his shoulders. Grace recognized him from a photograph in Cole's chart years ago. Friends and family, Colonel Anders, said, "We are gathered today to witness the joining of Staff Sergeant Cole Maddox and Captain Hannah Reyes. 2 soldiers who have served, who have been broken and rebuilt, and who in that process found each other." The ceremony mixed formal tradition with small personal notes. Vows promised love and patience, but also late-night coffee runs after rough days at the VA and listening without fixing when old ghosts stirred. They spoke explicitly about the work, the veterans they served, the ones they had lost. "I promise, Hannah," said, voice steady, "to walk beside you as we keep doing what brought us together, to hold space for the stories we hear and for our own. I promise," Cole said, "to keep getting up on the mornings when it would be easier not to. to stand with you even when the ground feels unsteady, to remember that we are not done serving just because the uniform changed. Rings slid onto fingers, metal catching the light. When Colonel Anders pronounced them husband and wife, the applause rose like a wave. The sound echoed off the stone, full and bright. At the reception hall beside the chapel, the noise was warmer, looser. Glasses clinked. Cutlery scraped plates. Children wove between tables, chasing each other under the eyes of veterans whose instincts tracked their paths without thought. Grace sat at the head table with Harper Ward Park Cruz Hannah's parents and a few others from Cole's inner circle. A small card with her name rested beside her plate. Someone had written Doc under it in pen. Halfway through dinner, Cole stood and tapped his fork against his glass. The clear ring cut through the buzz of conversation. "Can I steal your attention for a minute?" he said. Voices quieted, faces turned toward him. "I'm supposed to say something poetic," he said, "about love and destiny, and how I knew Hannah was the one when she beat me at the pull-up contest." Laughter shook the tables. "That part is true," he said. "She did beat me." Hannah rolled her eyes, smiling. "But what I really want to talk about is family," he said. "The one we were born into, and the one we built in places nobody should have to visit." His gaze moved around the room. Grace sought pause on Ethan, Leo, and Javier, on Tyler, on Marcus, on a cluster of veterans from other hospitals, some still using canes, some standing straight. 3 years ago, he said, I came home in pieces. Not just the obvious ones. I decided rehab was pointless. I decided I was done. A lot of people tried to change my mind. He turned slightly toward Grace. One of them refused to leave the room when I made it as miserable as possible, he said. She talked to me like I was still a soldier. She told me I was not done even when I wanted to be. She took every bottle I threw at her and handed it back as an objective. Grace felt her face warm. The tablecloth became very interesting. Grace Hall, Cole said, you gave me my first orders that did not come from a radio. Stand, walk, help the next guy. Most of the people in this room would not know each other if you had not done that. None of this, he gestured around them, would be happening. The applause was not loud, so much is deep. Veterans who rarely clapped for speeches lifted their hands for this. Grace lifted her glass, a small acknowledgement, and let the sound wash past. Harper leaned over. I hope you are documenting this, he murmured. In my head, she said. Later, Hannah took the microphone. I met Cole because of a peer group for vets who could not stand being in quiet rooms, she said. He annoyed me immediately. Then he listened. Then he kept listening. She glanced toward Grace. I heard about Brookhaven long before I met him, Hannah said. I heard about a place that was trying something different. Vets, helping vets in ways that charts cannot measure. That program gave me colleagues, friends, and eventually a partner. Her eyes shone, but her voice stayed steady. If you are in this room, she said, you are part of that. You showed up when it was easier to stay home. You visited hospital rooms. You answered late-night calls. You were there on the days when getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. She raised her glass. To the ones who walked beside us, she said. The toast rippled outward, glasses raised high. As the evening stretched on, music replaced speeches. The first dance belonged to Cole and Hannah. His prosthetic foot moved in a sure pattern on the polished floor. Her prosthetic arm rested against his shoulder, the mechanics hidden under silk, the line of it clear to anyone who knew where to look. The sound of their steps on the floor was steady heel and toe carbon and bone. Many in the room heard more than just the beat of the song. Grace heard the echo of parallel bars, the thump of a prosthetic on rubber mat, the hollow knock of a wheelchair rolling over a gym threshold. After the formal dances, the floor filled. Tyler tried to spin his date, lost his balance, and recovered with an exaggerated bow. Marcus held his child and shuffled in place while she patted his cheek. Ethan and his wife moved together in a slow, practiced sway. Grace found herself on the edge of the floor, near a set of open doors that led onto a small balcony. The night air drifted in cooler now, carrying the smell of the lake and the distant chirp of insects. She stepped outside for a moment. The relative quiet wrapped around her. Behind her through the open doors, music and laughter spilled out in waves. Footsteps sounded on the stone. She turned. Cole and Hannah joined her, both a little flushed, a little breathless, glasses in hand. Escaping your own party, she said. Reconnaissance, Cole said. Hannah leaned on the rail, looking out at the dark water. We wanted to grab you before the night chewed you up, she said. Grace lifted a brow. For what, she asked. Cole exchanged a glance with Hannah. We have been talking, Hannah said, about everything that came out of Brookhaven, about the vets we know who do not live near a big hospital, the ones in small towns or out in the middle of nowhere who are trying to do this on their own. Cole nodded. The peer groups, the one-on-one, talks the way you use vets as part of the treatment team, he said. It works. We have seen it work in more places than just San Antonio. We want to help build something that keeps it going and spreads it wider. Hannah looked at Grace. We are thinking about a nonprofit, she said, A network, really, connecting wounded vets with mentors and clinicians who understand service, not just at one hospital, everywhere we can reach. She paused. We would like you to be the one who builds the clinical side, she said. Training standards, making sure we do this in a way that helps and does not harm. In other words, Cole said we are asking if you want to keep bossing people around just on a bigger map. The lake reflected a smear of moonlight. Inside, someone started a new song. The opening chords drifted out. Grace rested her hands on the cool stone of the balcony rail. The challenge coin in her clutch pressed into her palm. She thought of the whiteboard at Brookhaven, crowded now with more names. She thought of the vets she had met stepping through doors, with hesitant gaits and hard eyes, and the ones she had watched leave with a different sound in their steps. She looked from Hannah to Cole. You are serious, she said. Very, Hannah said. Cole nodded. We will need someone who speaks both languages, he said. Hospital and squad room. The idea settled in her like weight and like lift at the same time. Then we should talk, Grace said. Hannah smiled relief and excitement all at once. Good, she said. We were hoping you would say that. Inside, a cheer went up at some unseen moment in the reception. On the balcony, the three of them stood looking out at the lake, at the dark outline of trees, at the sky gradually filling with stars. From here, the chapel door was just visible, a bright rectangle of light against the stone open to the night. Morning light washed across the map on her wall. The office sat on the 4th floor of an old brick building downtown. From the street, it looked like any other workspace. Inside, it was all veterans. Photos lined one wall, faces in uniform, and out some laughing, some serious, each with a date and a first name written in black marker under the frame. The map took up almost the entire opposite wall, a paper United States edges curling slightly from the humidity. Colored pins dotted it in clusters, red for hospital hubs, blue for local groups, green for one-on-one mentorships. In the corner of Texas, San Antonio had so many pins they overlapped. Grace stood in front of the map, coffee in hand, and traced the line from there to small towns in the hill country to a cluster outside El Paso to a single blue pin in a rural stretch of Kansas. Her desk was a mess of organized piles, intake forms, program reports, a draft of a grant proposal with notes in 3 different inks. In a shallow dish near the keyboard lay a neat row of challenge coins from units she had worked with. Her old one sat at one end, eagle-worn smooth. Cole's EOD coin rested near the center, its inscription still sharp. The mission continues. Her phone buzzed against a folder. She picked it up. From Cole. Got a name for you. Double amp EOD back at Brookhaven. Non-compliant. Reminds me of someone. You free this afternoon. She smiled without meaning to. She typed back. Send me the file. A minute later, her email pinged. She opened the attachment. The hospital logo at the top was the same as always. The language was familiar. Name Staff Sergeant Noah Kincaid. Branch Army EOD. Injuries, bilateral lower limb amputations above the knee, shrapnel, mild TBI. Behavioral notes, refuses therapy, refuses visitors, requests to be left alone, verbally hostile with staff. In the emergency contact box, the same single word appeared. None. Grace stared at it for a long beat, thumb resting on the screen. Then she printed the packet and slid it into a slim red folder. On the spine, she wrote in neat letters, Kincaid. A knock at the door pulled her back. Maya, the program coordinator, poked her head in. Conference call with Denver in 10, she said. They want to expand the peer groups at their satellite clinic. I will be there, Grace said. Maya nodded, then glanced at the map. New pin, she asked. Not yet, Grace said. Maybe soon. The call ran an hour. They talked about training standards, about screening mentors, about what to do when a group hit a rough patch. Grace listened to updates from facilities she had never set foot in and recognized the same patterns. Resistance, breakthrough, a joke at the right moment, someone teaching someone else to stand. When it ended, she checked the time. Just past noon. If she left now, she could make it to Brookhaven before the afternoon sessions started. She collected the Kincaid folder, her keys, her bag. Before she closed the office door, she reached for the dish of coins and took 2. Her own, Cole's. They sat heavy and familiar in her pocket as she walked down the stairs. The drive to the medical center felt like moving backward through time and sideways at the same moment. Same route, same freeway overpass, same hospital sign rising ahead out of the heat shimmer. Inside, the smell hit her as soon as she stepped through the doors. Disinfectant and rubber, coffee and something fried from the cafeteria. The sound was exactly as she remembered. Wheels on tile, voices layered over each other, low but constant. The distant beep of a monitor in a room she did not need to see. She signed in at the rehab desk. Patricia Hair-Grayer now looked up and grinned. Look what the cat dragged back, she said. You still letting just anyone in here, Grace said. For you, we make an exception, Patricia said. She nodded at the folder. New trouble? Something like that, Grace said. Room 20B was at the far end of the hall. She walked toward it, the soles of her shoes clicking softly on the floor. As she passed one door, she heard someone coaching another through a transfer. The voice was male steady with a familiar edge of impatience. Wait forward, you are not made of glass. Cole, she thought. Of course he was here. She kept moving. At 20B, she paused, hand on the frame, and read the nameplate again. Kincaid Noah, Staff Sergeant. She knocked once. A flat voice came from inside. I said I am not doing this today. She opened the door. The room was half in shadow. Curtains drawn, TV off. The bed was raised slightly, but whoever lay there had pulled the sheet up almost to his chest, as if he could make himself smaller under cotton. Noah Kincaid was younger than she expected. Late 20s, dark hair cut short, jaw unshaven. Both legs ended above where the knee should have been, bandages wrapped tight white against the hospital green. He looked at her with the wary, shut-down stare she knew too well. You are new, he said. Not exactly, Grace said. I am Grace Hall. I work with Homefront Network. We coordinate veteran support programs. He snorted. So you are the nice lady who sends the cheerleaders, he said. We do not have cheerleaders, she said. We have other vets and therapists who know what this room feels like. He stared at the ceiling. I already told them, he said. No rehab, no support groups, no visitors, no pep talks. She stepped further in, closed the door gently behind her. The quiet in the room deepened. I read your file, she said. EOD, 2 tours. The last one went bad. His jaw tightened. You read about it in a report, he said. That is not the same. No, she said. It is not. She slipped her hand into her pocket and wrapped her fingers around the 2 coins. Metal against metal. Old life, new work. I'm not here to drag you to the gym today, she said. I wanted to put a face to the name before I send someone by. Send who, he asked. A guy who knows more about losing legs than I do, she said. He used to think this room was where the world ended. Noah gave a short, bitter laugh. He was wrong, he said. He was, she said. Silence settled again. Through the closed window, faint traffic sounds filtered up from the street. She moved closer to the bed, but not too close. Enough that he could see her clearly without having to lift his head much. Do you want to know his name? She asked. I do not want to know any of this, he said. She nodded. That is fair, she said. She set the Kincaid folder on the small table by the bed. As she straightened her foot, brushed the wheel of a folded wheelchair parked in the corner, the metal rattled softly. Noah flinched at the sound. His eyes flicked toward it, then away. Get that thing out of here, he muttered. I'm not using it. Not today, she said. It is just parked. He looked at her again, suspicious. You do not sound like the others, he said. I spend time on the other side of these doors, she said. Different war, same building. His gaze dropped to the faint scar at her neck. To the way she stood, weight slightly shifted off one leg. He did not say anything, but his expression changed by a fraction. If you want me to leave, she said, tell me and I will go. He hesitated. Just stop trying to fix me, he said. She thought of Cole in the gym years ago saying almost the same words, hands still shaking from the throw. I'm not here to fix you, she said. I am here so you are not alone while you figure out what broken even means. He closed his eyes for a second. You talk like you rehearsed that, he said. I did, she said. On other people, including myself. The faintest crack showed in his armor. Not a smile, not yet. Something like curiosity. How many times did it work? He asked. Enough, she said. She stepped back toward the door. I will send someone this afternoon, she said. You can tell him to get lost. He will probably show up again anyway. Noah did not answer as she left. The door clicked shut behind her, soft and final. In the hall, the noise of the ward flowed back around her. Wheels on tile, a call button chime. From the gym down the corridor came the solid, familiar thump of a prosthetic foot on mat, followed by another. A voice she knew called out a correction. Again, you have more in you. Grace slipped her hand into her pocket, fingers closing around the coins, old and new pressed together. She turned toward the sound and started down the hall, footsteps blending into the rhythm already there. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.